It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right. Thanks, Mackenzie. Spin Market Report. We're here today with Elizabeth Stanek, and you work with linking families and communities. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here.
What
a fun group.
We've had a blast already. I'm glad
Yes.
we're recording now. We got to get some of this on tape for sure. So we got to start right at the very beginning, linking families and communities. Can you give me like a little synopsis of what that's about for people that may not know?
Sure. So Linking Families and Communities is a nonprofit here located in Fort Dodge, but we cover Calhoun, Pocahontas, and Webster, and our focus is on early childhood. So anywhere from parenting, like home visitation, to childcare, preschool, that kind of thing. We're trying to make sure that children are ready for school. They have all the tools that they need. Some of the programs that we fund are for everyone, and some of them are focused on, lower income individuals that need support.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of our goal, is to ensure that every child beginning at birth is healthy and successful.
That's great.
Wow.
I want to know, like, what got you interested in this in the first place?
Well, like many things, you don't really become interested. You're like, hey, this is what I want to do with life.
You didn't just, show up and you're like, this is exactly what I want to do.
Right.
All of this.
Right. Actually, I started out, I was first a teacher.
Oh, nice.
So I actually taught middle school special education. And
I could totally see you as a teacher, and I
yeah.
didn't know that until just now.
yeah. And then I coached volleyball, basketball, and track.
Oh, cool.
And so that's how I always loved school. I was originally going to become a veterinarian, but life changes and takes you in a different direction.
That's what I wanted to do originally.
Well, there we go.
And then I said, no, I can't put down a dog. So don't ask me.
Yeah, okay. A story for another time. But anyway, so I did that, and we moved back here. I'm from the area, and my husband's uncle passed away, and his uncle and his father farmed together. And so we moved back to the family farm. I'm originally from the area by Clare. Now we live by Callender, but moved back for the family farm. And so I was, looking for a job, thought I would go back and, do teaching and coaching. But this position came up, and I've been here now almost 24 years, and it's morphed and changed over time. But what really drove me to the position, long story short, is that we have an impact to prevent kids from being in my special education classroom. So the early intervention and support does matter in a kid's life, and the earlier that you can help with learning disabilities or notice any kind of deficit, the earlier you can treat that and make an impact so that they're not behind. Because I'd say half of the kids in my classroom when I was teaching, if they would have had early intervention, would not have been there.
Wow.
And so that's why I feel strongly about what we do.
Yeah.
Because early childhood, and I have to put in this plug, but early childhood during that first 3 years is when 80% of your brain is developed. So we need to do better as a community, as a state, and a nation, so that the kids that we are bringing up and into schools have all the tools and the skills and the care that they need to be successful.
Which I feel like this is going to sound kind of like, to me, I also thought about it as the money side of it. So we're not having to put as much funds into that. Like, so in the long term, it does save, everybody money.
It does.
But then also, like, think of how much better people would be.
Right. Well, and it's totally true. And there are longitudinal studies that show that the money spent in early childhood yields $17 later in savings from taxes. People who have had that early intervention and support are higher wage earners. They're less likely to be incarcerated. They're,
So it affects everybody.
They have better health. It does. I mean, it's crazy. And we've had this data for a long time, like 20 plus years. But it's not been the highest thing on the priority list as far as funding and programming. Not that it's not important, but there's just a lot of competing factors. But it can make a huge difference.
So how many people are there in the linking families and communities? Like, Do you know have a number?
Oh, like in the area, how many people were impacting?
Let's go area, I guess.
Oh gosh, well, as far as population, you have the populations of Calhoun, Pocahontas, and Webster. If that's what you're asking, but I'm not quite sure.
Like, how many people do you work with? It's not just you, correct?
So I am the sole employee of Linking Families and Communities.
See, look
Yeah.
at
For
her.
real?
For real.
Wow.
She is literally the do-it-all girl.
Yeah. Sometimes, jack of all trades, master of none. That's what my dad would say. So I'm the only person there. But a lot of what we've done in the past is working with community partners and providing funding to expand services, to create new services to help children and families in our area. Not that we do it all, because as one person, I can't do it all, but
You can't?
I wish. I'd like to try.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. But, that's kind of we work with community partners to make things happen.
That's awesome.
Do you think that when you were a teacher and a coach, do you think that you saw some of these things like early childhood development type things that were like you identified and you didn't realize you identified them until later when you started working with children?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like that would be something.
That's why it's so powerful to know that what we do now in early childhood or can do is so impactful to kids later in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, gosh, why are we not doing these? Why aren't we better for, just money, time, the priority of people. Those are all factors in that.
Yeah. Do you think that this has something to do with, I guess, like as a society, we've accepted that there are some developmental issues that kind of arise. Like, I guess for some reason, something I was thinking was as simple as like dyslexia. Like you go 40 years back and people didn't know what it was, but now people are having kids and their kids are coming in and they're getting help with like dyslexia or some sort of a learning disability. And then they find out the parent actually had it too.
Right.
And it was something that they never even diagnosed. Do you think that's something that's going to, now that we have the availability and the community and the resources to like identify this stuff and kind of rectify it or mitigate it in some fashion, do you think that's going to be something that we're going to see positive trends in the future because of that?
I think so. We've done a lot better in all sorts of things, identifying issues earlier. Or, like you said, for the person who didn't realize they had dyslexia and, now they find out their child has dyslexia. They're like, oh, well, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
We've done that just as a society a lot better in a number of places. But sure, as soon as, that's why childcare and preschool and parents identifying that is so important so that you can get into a service early to help remedy that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of educating on your side, a different level of educating. You're not educating kids. Now you're educating the adults that deal with all of this.
Right. And it's really up to, and everything is voluntary. So it's up to the parents. I mean, you can provide resources, but it's up to the parents to follow through. And, so that's what all of our partners try to help parents to do is like, okay, did you make that appointment? You need to let's get this checked out. But again, it's the parents.
Yeah, it's up to them. I mean, that's nice to know that it's not like you just like, well, we've got these resources, use them if you want to. You're actually kind of following through and kind of trying to make sure that the community actually uses this when needed.
Right.
And you said there's stuff that the whole community can use. It's not like you're just picking out niche areas and being like, we can help with this.
Right. For example, we want to make sure that all parents who have babies know that there are resources available, someplace to go. Now, not everyone needs it. But so we started a sleep sack program at the hospital. So every baby born gets a sleep sack, which is to promote back to sleep, safe sleep practices. And when
I was a part of that with you. I helped you with that.
So swaddling babies helps them feel more comfortable. So they're less likely to cry, not less likely to cry, but,
It works
for a
on
parent
me.
to,
Peter does that every night. He swaddles
I
himself.
got to swaddle myself. Who's gonna button this up? But just to let them know that there's a resource out there. We provide a list of resources on the sleep sack, so they have somewhere to turn. And then obviously they're seeing doctors who can make referrals and that kind of thing. But if that's your only
Which that definitely helps.
gateway. It's a good gateway to know
Yeah.
that there's somebody there that I can turn to, or
Yeah.
call and find out where a resource is.
Especially like, I mean, you're literally starting at the moment of birth.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and you're getting yourself out there to be like, hey, wait, you have connections. So even if, like a single mother, whatever the situation is, that, it's stressful, especially if you're a new
Parenting
parent.
is hard.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get a manual.
Yeah.
They have all successfully reached somewhat adulthood. I mean,
She's oh my gosh, she's successful. So you know that she's a good person to talk to.
they've made it all the way through. But yeah, parenting is hard, and at every stage there's a new set of challenges. So
Literally, it takes a village. So why not contact Elizabeth?
yeah,
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of mind blowing to me. Just like you said, they just send you home with a kid, and
yeah.
then that's it. Go.
Yeah, and there are programs available for families prior to having, the child. They could enroll in the home visitation program, Family Foundations, which is something that we funded. But there's pre-birth classes at the hospitals and that kind of thing. So there's other ways. But again, everything is optional. No one can make anyone do things, but it's a resource that are there to help. And typically if there's an issue, they're going to connect you with another resource that can maybe deal with that issue or problem that you're having at the time.
So when you say we have like these resources, is Linking Families and Communities, do you guys put the families in touch with the resources, or are you in charge of like the resources as well? Did you go and be like, oh, we need to set this up, it'd be a great thing, and you set it up and then you help people go to the program? Or do you also identify like other programs and say this also exists, you could go this route?
So a little bit of both. There's multiple entry points. So if, you've heard of a program and, you think it might be good for you, just contact them directly. But if someone contacts me, I'm going to say, okay, so what issue are you having, or what kind of information are you looking for? And I'll connect you and make sure that I follow up with that provider or whatever, or with you. Because, sometimes it's knowing who to contact. And helping someone take that first step if they are, hesitant about reaching out, because it's scary.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not from the community, or you're new, or you're just not sure, or you're just not that outgoing. It's hard. So we try to help with that. But all of the people, the programs that we work out with, and the people that are staffed do a great job in helping families and making referrals to other folks.
So another side of it, because like obviously you do all that, but then in order to get funds or whatever, you have to do a lot of like grant writing, right? And Cheryl always says how amazing you are at grant writing. She
Thanks,
will
Cheryl.
not stop talking about how good you are at grant writing. So can you kind of like give us a little bit of more information, like what that is all about, how that all works? And
Yeah. So I've had to write grants for a long, long time now. And the most recent one that I wrote was for a new childcare center project. And, it's about having the plan and the vision and the numbers and that kind of thing. I don't know. I've been fairly successful, so
What
I
all,
don't know what to say.
well, like what all goes into grant writing? Let me ask you that. If there's somebody that like just doesn't know, like me.
Oh, well, let's see. You have a project or a plan or a need that you're going to meet. You'll collect data on, the population that you're going to serve. As many details as possible. Every grant is different. I've written some grants that I was like, whoa, are you going to need my firstborn child for this? And then some that are fairly easy, that are more surface level. So, it just kind of depends on the grant and who the grantor is and what their expectations are. But I think, it's having a vision, having that plan, and then always, you can't do anything by yourself these days. I feel like you need partners and who will help you in that project or whatever it is service that you might be wanting to provide.
I was also curious, like with all these different services, how did you figure out like which ones were needed? Did you just kind of say like, well, there's a gap here that we could fill with something that we need. Let's just start with this one first and we'll go from there. And then when that one's kind of done and you have it set up, someone says, have you noticed this? And you say, oh, well, we could do another program over here with this. Like, how did you get all this stuff set up in the first place? Like, it's kind of mind blowing to me. Cause like where we're at right now is you've got like a giant network of people and within your community, different areas people can help out, families and stuff. But like, how did it get to there?
Well, typically what I do is I take a piece of paper and I write down just random needs and I put it all in a bucket and then I just draw one out. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I was like,
Let's-
I wanted to be like, wow, that's
It's
interesting.
so simple. No. Sorry,
If it
I
works,
had
it
to
works.
add that. We're getting so
you
serious.
spoke it so seriously. I was like, I feel like she's joking, but
That's just my personality. But no, we look at data to say, gosh, where are things not going well? Easy ones to point to are like child abuse, bigger community-wide data, but also talking with partners in the community. What are the gaps that you're seeing? So it can't just be one or the other. I think you have to have both. Like you need to make a data-informed decision. Where are the gaps? How can we help? What's appropriate?
So it
How
sounds
many
like
people will it impact? Is it just for one? You can spend, let's just say you can spend $1 million on one, or you could spend, $20,000 on several. How do you make the most impact that will have for each one of those pieces that will lift all of the boats? Have a greater impact on the community.
yes.
So it sounds like you not only connect families with your partners, but the partners also help you in reverse. So it's kind of like an all around circle of things.
Yeah, well, it really is, because no one of us has the ability or the money to do it all. We all need each other. And I think that's the strength of our area. Each in Calhoun, Pocahontas, and Webster, we know that we need each other. We know we can't do it all by ourselves. And so working together is not as challenging as it might be in some larger area, because there's less competition. It's like, okay, we don't have enough money to serve the same people. We don't have enough time or staff. How do we work together? Wow. So we do have a great area for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they all the providers pitch in and do whatever they can to help. And we're, I wouldn't say like, oh, we're one big family, but same kind of thing. We all need to row the boat in the same direction to make this work. And I think that's the key.
Well, you're doing a great job administratively of getting everybody to row the boat. Let me put it that way. The communities thing is what kind of blows me away. So like, how did you pick Calhoun, Webster, and Pocahontas areas? And was that something that like, did you just touch on and say like, you don't necessarily, that maybe there's something set up in other surrounding counties, or you don't want to compete with the funds and kind of split it up amongst them and you? And is there something like that that's going on that you just, or did you like, well, we got Webster down now, let's just go over to Calhoun County, and then there's a need in Pocahontas, we'll just go there next? Or
So our area, and this was before my time, but our area was set up as Calhoun, Pocahontas, and Webster. And I won't bore you with all of the history.
Okay.
But the main reason was at the time, Calhoun and Pocahontas are pretty small. Pocahontas, I think, is like 7,800 and population, and Calhoun is like 97 or something.
that's the whole county,
That's
right?
the whole county.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Webster's 35,000. So at that time when they were receiving funding and looking at how do they work together, and a lot of providers come out of Webster, they're housed here, and they serve Calhoun and Pocahontas. It just made sense, number one. And number two, Webster County pulls in a greater number of funds because of the large size. It benefits Calhoun and Pocahontas to work together with Webster County. And so that's kind of how it started from my understanding. And it's benefited all three counties at different times, where if we had a service that had another funding source, maybe in Webster, the funds that we were providing could then help more families in Calhoun and Pocahontas. So, I mean, it's been of mutual benefit, and they can learn from each other.
Oh yeah.
So it's always been that way. And I think it's been a good, the founders, so to speak, made a good decision in putting those three counties together.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's really cool that like you said, Webster, more people, maybe more resources, more funding, but it all ties back together where it benefits everybody. And it's the same deal with, the smaller counties can come over here and receive some things over here if they need it, or just kind of borrow some of them and take them over to their county with
Right.
them.
And those services are offered in Pocahontas and Calhoun. So
Oh,
the
they
goal
don't
is
even have
not
to
to have
travel.
to travel. I mean,
Nice.
so because that's a barrier for people. There's
Yeah.
transportation's a barrier, housing, childcare is a barrier. So trying to remove as many of those barriers. So services for early childhood that we do are often provided in the home or in that town area, that kind of thing.
I guess,
Wow.
I mean, that makes so much sense now that you said it. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but that's also why you're doing what you're doing, is because you've already thought of the stuff, you know? So
She's the professional. We're just here. Oh my goodness.
So we were talking grant writing earlier. Is this like one of the keys to success for your business, is the grant writing or things in that nature?
Yeah, part of it. I mean, it helps us do some things that we couldn't normally do. So we have a funding allocation that we get called Early Childhood Iowa Funds. So that is, we have to apply for it, but it's kind of a given, quote unquote. But if you want to do anything outside that, we're a nonprofit, so you either have to fundraise or write grants. And so grant writing allows us to be able to do some things that we couldn't normally do under the normal auspices of linking families and communities. It helps expand the services.
There you go.
Where otherwise we'd be limited to doing a few certain things or funding a few certain programs.
So that also makes me, you said people could like sponsor in some, or donate money, I'm sure, because
Yes.
you're nonprofit.
You like that.
But yeah. So
She likes it.
I'm assuming you do fundraising activities as well.
We have, we haven't had any big galas or anything like that. Last year we had an Oktoberfest event.
Oh yeah. I played guitar at that.
I was just there.
So we did that for the first time, and that went well. In the past, we had done an event called Kids Mania, which was in the old Crossroads Mall, and we took over the whole mall and had, I want to say 130, but we'll call it 100 different booths with activities and information. So it was kind of like a resource fair with a carnival twist. So we would have stage entertainment like the Hollingsworth and the All-Stars and all of that come in and be able to show their parents and the community all of their great dance acts and talent. We had at our last year, I think the last time we did it was 2015. We had 7 balloon artists doing balloons for 4 hours.
Oh, geez.
Oh my
And
gosh.
there were lines down the ramps of the Crossroads Mall.
I'll tell you what, I'm
7.
I'm certainly not going to turn down a balloon animal either. And
Yeah.
I'm a quote unquote adult, and I'm not going to turn down a balloon animal.
You need like a balloon guitar,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hook it up.
maybe some hair. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like
couldn't resist.
it grew from, I think the first year we had 2 and the last year we had 7. We gave out 1,500 hot dogs.
wow.
We'd have 3,000 people in 4 hours.
Whoa.
And so there was things for everyone. Oh, we had face painting. I mean, the whole thing. So it was free, but you got to meet, somebody maybe from the Girl Scouts and somebody from, DSOC would be there, or, all of the community resources. They would have something fun. And we had some other things going on too, but it was a fun free day for parents that they could find out more about their community.
Yeah.
The kids could
connect
have
with
fun while the
resources.
parents is.
Yeah.
The parents is. Wow.
The
The
parents
parents learned.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but something to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those are the fundraisers that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
I should put a plug in though for not really a fundraiser, but something new that we started was the Fort Dodge Play and Learn Center,
Okay.
which is kind of like, the idea was children's museum but it's more of a play space where kids can play with other toys, developmentally appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Parents play with them. And also parents connect with each other. So helping build that social network of parents, because that's, again, there's no manual, and sometimes you just need the support of someone else who's going through the same thing or other ideas. And so that's been a nice addition to what Linking Families and Communities offers. And we have a great director, Jen Becker. So she is contracted. It was kind of her brainchild, and I'm like, hey, we can help. Let's do this. We can help make that happen. So, so that's exciting. But we're always open to try new things and meet the needs of the community.
So besides the Play and Learn Center, you have another thing,
We do.
big project coming up.
Yes.
We're in the process.
Yeah, we're trying to develop a new childcare center. We have obtained the old Becker Florist building. So if you're old, or like myself, you might remember that Becker Florist was on Highway 5th Avenue South, the old Business 20, across from the Fort Museum and Friendship Haven. And so it has sat empty for a long time, and we were able to obtain that from Kenyon Road Baptist, who had bought it from the Beckers. So that's our goal, is to create that childcare center in that location.
All right. But that's the new location. So that I actually, now that you described it, I don't know why I'm always the worst with Fort Dodge locations. And someone's like, it's over by here. And I'm just like, I don't know. But I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was a greenhouse there
Yes, there
until
was.
March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny story. I put that thing on Facebook Marketplace just to see. So I'm like, somebody has, it's good, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to pay to tear it down.
Uh-huh.
Someone from Tennessee came and purchased it. Not for a ton, but we didn't have to tear it down. And it is now being relocated to a mountain valley in Tennessee.
Wow.
And it'll be a flower farm, and they'll have a pavilion, and
Oh, wow.
Wow.
yeah,
That's so
it's
fun.
off of Facebook Marketplace.
The other fun thing about that is like,
I love it.
I mean, this is just me being the accountant-minded person. Like, not only did you not suffer a deficit from having to tear the thing down, somebody paid you a little bit of money to take it away.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, there's some 1970s carpet in there. You think anybody would want to buy that?
You never know. You never know.
We might be
Facebook
going back to that
Marketplace.
era of decor.
Like, hey, just trying to.
We're
Again,
putting it out there. So if you would like to buy some used old,
It's probably,
carpet.
it's probably 40 to 50 years old, I'd say. Hey, it looks great.
It's
for
vintage.
That. Yeah, it is vintage.
Vintage. There we go.
Yeah,
That's the selling point right here. So at the new location, what are you going to do out there? Are you going to just pick up everything and move it out there? Are you going to do an expansion and do new stuff out there that you're not normally doing?
Yeah, our plan is to create a child care center there. It would house 7 classrooms. So we would expand to basically where the greenhouse was.
okay.
Because the building itself, although it's long when you look at it, it's not as deep as you'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to accommodate 103 children, we'd add 2 classrooms and then a small little office entryway on the front side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plan. The play yard would be in the back, so it would be sheltered from the road. Nice. Sheltered from the view of the back. There's no lie. There's a prison back there, train track, then prison, but it's pretty secure, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And we will have, a solid fence, but you can't hear. It's really peaceful out there. You can hear the birds because there's trees back there.
Oh, nice.
And every, in 4 hours, I heard one, something sounding like Charlie Brown, wah, 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 over a loudspeaker, but you can't hear it.
Yeah.
So with the solid fence, that's not going to be an issue. But so that's the plan, is to turn that into a
Yeah. Do you want to
early
say what
care and education. That's what it is.
I was gonna say,
Education.
what is the name of it? Because you were really clever with your name that you
Yeah.
chose.
So the capital campaign is called Planting the Seeds for a Brighter Future. And so we're working on that now. The name of the center will be Sprouts Early Education and Development School, which the acronym is SEEDS. So we have Sprouts and Seeds and Planting. Because early education and care grow bigger brains, and we are trying to develop children to be, act in their fullest potential.
Did I see?
Sold.
Did I see you maybe working on a logo for this or something?
I am in works on a logo. So
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So we hope that we can bring that vision to light. We've got a grant. We'll be seeking others. Right now we're in the midst of kind of the quiet portion of the campaign, which I guess if this podcast's out there, it's not really quiet. But if you don't like the Sprouts name, you can, for a certain dollar amount, name it whatever you'd like, and we'd be happy for that to happen.
There we go.
So it could be the Stockdale
it very well
Early
could.
Education and Development School.
You should get on that,
All right.
Peter.
Yeah.
All right. Hang on a second. Let me get you my routing number quick.
Okay, hey, that sounds good. We take payments.
Although this does bring up a question that I do have on here.
Okay, yeah.
If somebody just wanted to make a donation, just here's some. Can they do that? Is that
Absolutely.
a website, or what are we talking about?
Yeah,
Is there
so we have a donate button on our website. There is a page for, I'm going to call it seeds just because it's easier, for the seeds project. So there is a donate button. You can, they can contact me and we can make that happen. You can gifts of stock and that kind of thing. So we do have gift policies in place to accept donations like that.
Nice. That's always one of the things I think needs to get called out about this kind of stuff, is because, I mean, like, you come to the community, it's like, wow, this program's set up, all these people are doing all this help, and sometimes people forget that, like, oh, I can just donate money to this. I don't have to show up to a thing and or like buy a meal, a plate at a meal or something. I don't have to do one of those types of things, but I can just give you money,
Right.
So it's also cool. It's also on your website. You guys did the website right here at Spin?
It was, I don't remember when we did it.
It's been a
I think
while.
It's been a while when we did it.
It's been a collaboration of, I can do some of the stuff, I, like I said, jack of all trades, I can do some things, but I can't do it all. So then I can't contact Mackenzie or Cheryl and someone else at Spin and say, hey, can you help me out with this?
Yeah. So I got to work with her on quite a few projects, including the Swaddle one. We did a little postcard for them to get in contact with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know I did the logo for the Play and Learn Center. And, maybe I'll get to be a part of the Sprouts logo unless somebody donates a whole bunch of money. Come on, do it.
Yeah.
You could take my logo even. I think that's a really good name for it. So I'm kind of like, don't really want people to change the name, if I'm being honest.
It could still be, Stockdale, because it still spells seeds.
Yeah.
Okay, there you
Just
go.
saying.
All right.
Yeah, see?
All right.
Yeah. So when you donate money, if everybody thinks that Peter should donate money, you should use the hashtag Peter donate money.
That's original.
like and subscribe.
That was my really quick brain working.
I like it.
I had a good development growing up, so
yes. So I was like doing a little research actually on the website, and I found that the website linked over to something called Childcare Connections. Is that something else that you're involved with?
Yeah. Well, yes. In 2015, 2016, this is kind of the start of when we're like, we need to do more around childcare. It's a huge need. It always has been. Like, it was a need when my kids were young. Like, I remember going and to someone who was recommended. All the centers were full at that time. And this was 21 years ago. Going to a home provider, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't leave him here. I'm going to have to quit. Like, I love my job, but I don't think I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm unique in that. But I was fortunate. I have family in the area, and it all worked out that I was able to pay my mom to watch my kids. But I know not everyone is that fortunate. Well, since that time, childcare has gotten even more scarce. And in 2015, there were some legislative changes at the federal level that were about to impact our childcare population, because there were increasing regulations. So we thought we're going to see a huge deficit in childcare, which we did. So we got a group together and started meeting and talking about what kinds of things we can do. And we had a childcare market analysis and a feasibility study and all of these things. And so out of that came two projects. One was to expand Community Early Childhood Center. So we were part of that and did that. And then the other one was a new center, which at that time was like $6 million to do both. Mm-hmm. And we're like, we can't raise enough money for that. So we need to prioritize the community project. So we did that. So Childcare Connections was born from that group, because we were also trying to figure out how can we help the business community identify how they can help.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Bingo.
So is that's probably, it probably makes some sense, because when you look at it, it says for employers, there's a tab for that. And then there's some information. Mm-hmm. it's not a huge site, but it's still there because it's still pertinent to today. Childcare is a barrier for entering the workforce and staying in the workforce. And so when we have businesses that are looking for employees, one of the barriers is often childcare for, younger individuals. So there's ways that they can support their workforce. And it actually is shown to increase loyalty among their employees. So
100%.
Yeah,
I can totally see that.
you can make yourself the employer of choice by offering some kind of childcare support, because people buy in and they're like, well, they cared about me and my family, even past the time that they need childcare help, or, they're like, you've invested in me. It's a good place to work. I'm going to stay. And so it builds loyalty, but it also is a recruitment tool.
So it's like, because I remember getting told whenever I interviewed that you're not just being the one interviewed, you're also interviewing the business to see whether they would be a good fit for you. So it's kind of like that with the child care and stuff like that. So it just, if they have that for families, single moms, like all of that, single parents, I guess I should say, not just moms, but it's that one step of that you actually care about that side of it too.
Right. And knowing that, it's really, childcare is often a short-term issue for people. But so there's things that they can do from, very minimum family-friendly policies to, developing all the way to the other end of developing our own childcare and having it on site. I mean, there's a number of things in between, but, you have to figure out what's right for your business. So from family-friendly policies, then you could do like a dependent care flexible spending account, which then makes childcare tax-free. To maybe you provide a stipend for childcare, so that makes someone be able to better afford childcare, make a different childcare decision than what they've made, afford a center that costs a little bit more than their budget will allow, or one that has the hours that, maybe it costs more, but it has the hours that they need. We're also looking at, from my angle, I'm looking at what helps parents, what helps businesses, but ultimately what is in the best interest of kids. And stability is the most important for kids. Limiting the number of transitions in a day. I mean, we have people that work, not typical hours, so that, they're not just working 8 or 9 to 5. They're working 11 to 7 or whatever it might be. And so childcare, whether it's a home provider or center, ends at 5 or 6, but I still have to work. So I got to arrange for someone to pick them up and take them here. Maybe it's another provider, maybe it's a family member, but oftentimes where businesses experience issue is the breakdown of that, or bad communication. Even if both are great places, things happen. I experienced that myself with my own mother, because, she had things that she had to do too. But, those cause issues for the child, the unsettling, especially if it's often, but also the parent, because then they have to take off work, or they're not productive, they're worried at work. And so it really just has a domino effect.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a lot of good points. I mean, basically through all of that, I mean, childcare is getting more scarce nowadays than it ever was. And I just think about like 10 years ago, I worked with a lady who had a kid, and like just finding childcare was tough enough for her, and then affording it on top of that was also just as difficult. And it, now we're in a place where it's like, well, there's less childcare providers and it costs more. And so just having any sort of foot in the door to get any availability for that, any capacity, even if it's subsidized or not, is huge, because the person that I worked with, like, sometimes would just be like, I don't have childcare today. I can't come into work until this time. And you just make do, because, luckily the employer that I was working with was very, very understanding of it all. But it was, you could see like, this might frustrate some of us here at work, but imagine how frustrating it is for the parent, so. And
the fact that they can be your best employees if they're able to be there. They have, not that we all don't, but, they have food to put on the table, not just for them and, potentially their spouse, but their kids, and they have all these other things that they, obligations. So oftentimes parents are their best workers. It's just being able to make sure that they can be consistent and they're not preoccupied with things that, outside of the workplace with their kids, if they're worried about the care that they're getting or the situation they had to leave them in.
Because you definitely want to have feel safe leaving your kids
Right.
with people. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's folks that don't feel safe with the place that they left them. And I'm not just talking about here. I'm talking about, all over the place.
Yeah, my hometown was in the news for a while for that same situation, and
Yeah.
it's so sad because you're like, you should be able to trust people, that are wanting to do this for their kids, but
And
sometimes the
it's
parents
hard.
are between a rock and a hard place.
Right, and that happens. And the other thing too is what quality or what good childcare. I mean, we have metrics and scales at the from the state that say this is what quality is and that kind of stuff. But it's a highly personal choice. So what is going to work for my family or what I'm looking for is different than what you might be looking for, and that's the rub that people don't always understand. We don't have enough childcare here. I can talk a lot about issues in the childcare industry. Not that we don't have great providers. It's just we don't have enough staff at times. But what I'm looking for is different than the next person. So while someone might say, well, there's an opening with so-and-so, you know what? That doesn't meet what I'm looking for. My standard, or maybe it doesn't meet my hours, or whatever. And it's not widgets. We're talking about kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that can sometimes get lost in it. It's like, it's not putting a round peg in the round hole, because it fits, it's
not
individual, it's personal.
Yeah, it's not like you're just taking your dog to a border and being like, here you go.
Right. But people worry about their dogs, right? So
that was exactly what I was thinking saying that, because it's like, just as much as saying that, it's like, why wouldn't you worry the same or at least as much about your own children?
And parents do.
Yes.
I don't think there's anybody who has ever said like, I hope to be the most horrible parent on the planet, or I want to put my kids in unsafe positions. I don't think there's a parent that says that. I think it happens because of the circumstances that they might be in, or forced to make choices that are less than what they want, because they have the circumstance is different. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, every time we ask you a question, you answer, I'm just blown away by how good of an understanding of the big picture you have. It's not just like, all right, here's childcare, go for it. It's
Well, I've been around a while.
I understand, but still, like, I mean, it's understandable that you're good at your job, but also it's maybe it's just refreshing to know that that's out there, because like
it's like reassuring because she's just so easy to talk to, and like you're just like, she has a good heart, and you could tell that when you talk to her. So like, she's kind of one of those people that if you needed anything, no matter how big or small it is, like, you're not hard to talk to. You don't feel judged when you go to talk to you, type of thing.
Well, thank you. I mean, I strive for that, but I appreciate that. That's a really nice thing to say.
Yeah, because I knew it when I first met you. I was like, she's a really great person. Like, so she's fun to have around, for sure. But she's also just got the sweetest heart for people and for children and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see, like, you actually talking about this stuff, because I've seen you on the different side where you're just fun, having fun with us, like joking with us, but to see you like actually talking about what you're doing, and you could tell that how passionate you are about what you're doing.
Yeah,
so
thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do care, and every child deserves to have the best kind of care and education. That's what we all want. It's just trying to get to that point and delivering it. And I do have to, if we have time, to talk about the childcare, like wages. That's one thing that is an issue.
Let's hit it.
In Fort Dodge and the state, probably the nation, but I know more about here in Iowa. Childcare is expensive to parents. I mean, I won't say that it's not. It's a big part of your budget when you make the least in your career. Typically, you're usually young. You have children. A child or two. You make the least that you're probably ever going to make. And then you have formula and diapers and childcare and all of this stuff. So it really straps people. And so people will say it's so expensive. And I'm not saying it's not, because it's a big part of your budget when you're making the least. However, our childcare providers aren't making a lot. When I look at center staff, I mean, we have people making between 9 and now 12, 13. $14, but mostly around the $10 range. And so look at the ads at Quick Star and McDonald's when you go in.
$17
and
an hour starting wage or whatever.
Right. And so these are the people that are caring for your children, that they're making less than the guy that cares for your cheeseburger at McDonald's or the, you know.
Nothing against cheeseburgers.
No. And I like a good cheeseburger.
Hey.
But you know, like, we're just not, those are people that are responsible for the care
For the
and
life
education of your children. And it is education in childcare. I mean, when I talked about brain development being 80% complete by the time that you're 3, I mean, these are the neurons that are you're making these connections in your brain that are foundational for the rest of your life. We need to be doing a great job. And the people that are caring for our kids need to be they need to be stable and quality people that we would want caring for our kids. And yet they're not paid well, and that you can make more at Quick Star, McDonald's, wherever, and have benefits.
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma of childcare, is that they're underpaid by far. We have some great childcare employees and workers, not my employees, but you know what I mean, in the childcare industry, that do a great job. But they certainly, I mean, there's a lot of turnover, so it's definitely hard for centers to make to keep good staff because of the low amount that they can pay.
Understandable.
And it all just, you know, it's a cycle thing. The cost it seems high, but it's not high enough to pay higher wages. And so it's, you kind of feel like you're on a hamster wheel. And another reason why we can't bring in or aren't able to bring in, like, there are for-profit childcare chains. You see them popping up in Cedar Rapids and Des Moines and Waukee and that kind of thing. I just went to visit one the other day. They're not coming here because they can't make the profit that
they could in a bigger place,
right?
With more
because they can
clientele,
charge higher. I mean, they're charging $350, $400 sometimes.
Wow.
That's not going to happen here.
Yeah.
Or not in a very long time, unless a business subsidizes bringing one in. So, those are kind of the challenges of childcare. But I think that all of our providers do an amazing job with what they have. The people that they have employed are caring, come to work. That's a hard job. Quick Star, I pick on Quick Star because I go there way too often. But like you go, you just serve your time. You do the things that you need to do. You check out at the end of the day. But more than likely, you didn't get spit up on, have to change someone's diaper, deal with, behavior problems or a meltdown.
More than likely?
The child screaming.
Well, I'm
Hopefully
just saying,
not.
more than likely, because, there are those outside chances. But I mean, those are hard jobs that not everyone is willing to do, and
not everyone's equipped for it
or
either.
equipped for. And so we ask an awful lot of the childcare providers here, and they do a good job. So hopefully one of them is listening and can, get the pat on the back that they greatly deserve, because they're important.
I was going to ask what's the solution to that conundrum, but it sounds like you said it's like a circular issue. It's the stick and carrot, and it's you have no choice. But like, if you want to pay these people more, you're gonna have to pay
Charge
them more,
right?
And that's not what anybody wants. They don't want to just be like, well, I'll just give you more money because it's already expensive.
Right.
So,
well, I think there are some solutions. One, I think, is businesses could look at making a stipend or some kind of, like on that Child Care Connections website, some kind of offering to their employees. That would help.
Yeah.
There's not one solution. That's the problem. So I think that's part of it. Employers looking at how they can help with the child care to recruit their own employees. That directly benefits them, and it directly benefits the children of their employees. And then would have an effect on the childcare industry here. The other thing is, childcare assistance, which is it's a legislative thing, but childcare assistance rates need to be increased. And part of that is that rate, or all of that rate, is dependent on what people are actually charging parents. So if there aren't any rate increases, if we keep things artificially low, that has an effect. I mean, not the whole state isn't doing that, but certainly our rates here play a factor in that. So if they stay artificially low, that means that rate doesn't increase as much over time.
So they won't get subsidized.
So
in
the
any
subsidy is lower. I mean, we've all heard about, like, if you're on Medicaid, our doctor, dentist doesn't get reimbursed the full amount that they would a regular patient, right? The same thing is true in childcare.
Okay.
So if your rate is, I'm just use $500 for the fun of it. If your rate is $500 for, we'll say the month, $500 for the month, childcare assistance only pays you $300. So you eat the other $200. It's no different than that, but you just don't hear about it because it's a lower income group of people that it affects, and for a shorter time period. So we're talking about, people with children who are low income, and it's not like as big of a number as like Medicare or Medicaid type of thing. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
But so those are two things that I think would be helpful. There are some other things that people are trying. I just don't know that they are long-term, if they would stick around long-term. But those two things I think would help.
Well, I think we're getting really close to the end of this podcast.
Okay, sorry,
here.
I talked a lot.
No,
Holy cow.
this is great. I was going to ask how Spin has had an impact on your business. Spin Market being the marketing company here that's doing the podcast, but we did kind of
those people.
She's never met us before.
I have never. I'm so glad to meet you.
So we did talk about that though in the episode. So we already covered a lot of that ground. But I do want to ask you: is there anything like one of the questions I want to ask everyone is there anything like a time in your life where marketing impacted you and you possibly didn't even know it was impacting you?
Oh, personally?
Yeah, sure. See, this is
every day.
Yeah. Quick Star.
How many? I should get paid by Quick Star.
At this point, we should have this episode sponsored by Quick Star.
Sponsored by Quick Star.
Honestly, though,
see you again next time.
You go there enough, and it was enough to be a thing to name, and so that's kind of.
Quick Star want to purchase the Sprouts building?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing this out here.
Yeah. See you next time. Yeah. That's yeah. Every day I think we're all affected by marketing. Like too many times when I've gotten online, I was like, oh, I think I need that. And I don't really need it, but I might buy it anyway. I just think what I like for linking families for myself is that it's a good way to get your message out to a lot of people that you would not be able to touch any other way.
Makes sense.
And the interconnectability of things. So whether it's a Facebook ad or, connecting to your website, like I've learned a lot from Spin on, like, hey, you don't have to tell your whole story in this one little Facebook post or, whatever. Like they should connect, drive people to your website, drive people to, whatever you're trying to do. But like it gives you an opportunity to reach a lot more people than I could just, on a daily basis. Or, when people share things, if they had a great experience or, like Oktoberfest. That's a good example. We're kind of running late on things. We had this great idea, but, it's me after work and some volunteers and trying to put all this together. And, we had send it out to our network of folks and say, hey, can you help us out? Share this, social media. We had a great turnout. We had over 600 people there for a first-time thing with a pretty low budget.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing that it was a first-time thing. It looked all very well set up for what.
Well, we had a lot of help with, behind the scenes, but, that's just one kind of, the effect of marketing was helpful. And we couldn't have done, otherwise it'd be like, okay, well, we placed a handful of newspaper ads. A newspaper has its place.
Hung up a couple posters.
Hung up some it's all time. Marketing is many different things. It's the posters, it's the newspaper, it's Facebook, it's your digital ads, it's radio, websites,
branding,
all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I think you have to do marketing to get your message out.
Absolutely.
And this is a great place to do it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There's a good plug.
Appreciate it. Elizabeth, we're getting down to the end of the episode. Is there anything else you want to add into this before we scoot on out of here?
Thanks. Thank you. It was a good time. I know I'm getting a little hoarse. I talked a lot. I usually like to make a joke. I did make one joke.
All right.
You know, the whole putting the things in the bucket. No, it was very good. It was a great opportunity for me to provide some information, get the information out about linking families and communities, the importance of early childhood, and have some fun in the process. So I appreciate being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you and meet somebody so passionate about all this stuff.
Thank you.
We kind of like her here, so.
I kind of like it here.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital.
Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market.
Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026 or visit our website www.spinmarket.com.